Ever walk by like a really old park bench? Or maybe you stood on a sturdy deck and wondered, how does wood last that long?
Right.
Well, get ready to dive into the world of wood treating.
It's a field that's often overlooked, but it's so important for making sure wood can withstand the elements, last a long time.
We're going deep on this one, using the RoleCatcher career guide for wood treaters to really break it all down.
What I find fascinating about this career path is how it really brings together science and artistry.
Okay, so before we get lost in the weeds, let's start with the basics. What does a wood treater actually do?
Basically, they're protecting wood from everything that wants to destroy it. We're talking insects, rot, fungi, the weather. They're like the guardians of wood, making sure it stays strong and beautiful.
And the ways they do this are pretty interesting. Chemical treatments, heat, they even use gases and UV light. It's a lot more than just painting it.
Exactly. One common method is pressure treating, where they actually force chemical preservatives deep into the wood, creates a barrier against decay.
Ah, so it's like giving the wood its own little force field. I see the RoleCatcher guide says that's especially important for things used outdoors, like fences, decks, playground equipment, that kind of thing.
And this is where the artistry comes in. Different treatments lead to different looks. A skilled wood treater knows how to use these methods to get the specific aesthetic they're going for, whether it's that rustic, weathered look or something sleek and modern.
So it's like a science, but also like an art form, kind of. But where do they actually do all this?
You'll find them in all kinds of places: sawmills, lumber yards, manufacturing facilities, really any place where wood's being prepared for use.
The RoleCatcher guide really paints a picture of the work environment. And yeah, it's definitely not a desk job, physically demanding, often outdoors, and it can get pretty noisy. Plus, there's the whole exposure to chemicals thing.
Which leads to a crucial consideration: work-life balance. The guide does a nice job of highlighting both the good and the bad.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are the big pros and cons?
On the plus side, you get the satisfaction of working with your hands, really seeing what you've accomplished. Plus, the demand for treated wood is tied to construction, infrastructure, so job security is generally pretty good.
That makes sense. People are always going to need houses and buildings, right?
Right. But those physical demands we talked about and the potential for hazardous materials, those are big factors. The guide really emphasizes those safety protocols, using protective gear to stay safe.
And it's not just about keeping yourself safe, it's also about the environment, right? I did notice the RoleCatcher guide talks a lot about sustainability in this field.
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, in the past, some of the chemicals they used were, well, not so great for the environment, but things are changing. There's a bigger focus now on eco-friendly options and making sure things are disposed of properly.
So wood treaters can actually be kind of like advocates for sustainability, it seems like.
Exactly. The guide even mentions that knowing about these eco-friendly practices can help you get hired. Shows you're thinking ahead, big picture stuff.
Huh. Interesting. It's like those hidden skills that pop up in all sorts of careers. You wouldn't necessarily think environmental awareness is a must-have for a wood treater, but it's becoming more and more important.
Absolutely. It's all about those connections, right? And speaking of connections, the whole RoleCatcher platform is designed to help you make those connections in your career.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's more than just a career guide. It's like a career coach in your pocket. Job boards, help with your resume and CV, even AI stuff to practice interviews.
And something I find helpful is how they lay out the career path in wood treating. Clear stages, from entry level all the way up to senior positions, shows you how you can grow your skills and responsibilities.
Like a roadmap. Cool. So let's say you're just starting out. What's a typical day like for an entry-level wood treater?
Well, according to the guide, you'd probably be helping out the more experienced folks, learning the ropes of the different treatments. Could be prepping the wood, operating machinery, with supervision, of course, and doing those basic quality checks.
Sounds like a good way to get your hands dirty, literally, and really learn from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly. Then, as you move up to like a junior level, you'd have more responsibilities, maybe overseeing a specific treatment process, figuring out if something goes wrong, and making sure those quality standards are met.
Makes sense. So what about those who are really want to become masters of wood treating? What's the senior level look like?
At that point, you could be the one developing new techniques, managing teams, or even training and mentoring those junior folks. The guide really stresses how important it is to have that deep knowledge about the science of wood, the different treatments, and all the safety stuff, especially for leadership roles.
So there's a real potential to move up, specialize even.
Yeah, for sure. And RoleCatcher clearly wants to give those aspiring wood treaters the tools and info they need to succeed. They even have tips on standing out in the job market, which is, more and more reliant on technology.
Right, like those algorithms. It's almost like they're saying, hey, we know tech is changing the game, so here's how to use it to your advantage. They talk a lot about tailoring your resume to get past those automated systems, using the right keywords, and really highlighting your skills in a way that makes sense to both humans and computers. It's more than just keywords, though, right?
Yeah.
They talk about letting your passion show, too.
Definitely. In any interview, but especially for something like wood treating, being able to explain why you're drawn to it, it makes a difference. It shows you're not just there for a paycheck. You actually care about the work.
Yeah, it's like, imagine you're interviewing two people, right?
Right.
One can list off all the technical stuff, but seems bored to death.
Right.
And the other one, their eyes light up when they talk about preserving wood or seeing a project through
Totally.
who are you going to remember?
Exactly. That passion, that genuine interest, it's just as important as knowing the technical side. And RoleCatcher gets that based on what they're saying in the guide.
They even give advice on those tough interview questions, the tell me about yourself kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
How to frame your experience to highlight the stuff that matters. Problem solving, attention to detail, being safety conscious, all those things that make a good wood treater.
It's all about tailoring your story, showing how you fit what they're looking for. Which brings us back to something we touched on earlier, that need to keep learning in this field.
Right, because it's not like wood treating is just going to stay the same forever.
Exactly. New technologies pop up, new materials, new rules about the environmental stuff.
It's always changing.
So whether you're just starting or you've been doing it for years, staying up to date is crucial. The RoleCatcher guide mentions different ways to do that. Industry magazines, workshops, online courses, even getting certified to show what you know.
So it's like, you've got your toolkit, but you always got to be adding new tools, keeping the ones you have sharp. That's good advice for any career, really, not just this one.
Couldn't agree more. Things change so fast these days. Being adaptable and willing to learn is key.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of wood treating, I gotta say, I have a newfound appreciation for this line of work.
Yeah.
It's often overlooked, but so important for everything around us.
Absolutely. I think the biggest takeaway is that there's a lot more to it than people realize.
Way more than meets the eye.
It requires that technical skill, for sure, but also a real understanding of environmental responsibility.
And hey, maybe this has sparked some interest for our listeners. If you're someone who likes working with their hands, blending that science and art, and being a part of a more sustainable future, well, wood treating might just be the path for you.
There you go.
And that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.